Thank you, Hannah. I adore you. You're my brilliant, hilarious playmate at work, my friend, my confidant, and my wokeness counselor. Thank you, truly. I would like to thank everyone, actually, at the Human Rights Campaign, and I'm thrilled to be sharing the stage tonight with First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, Sterling K. Brown, Tariq Trotter, and the inimitable and indescribable Kelly Robinson. I hope she runs for president not too long later. Hannah and I recently attended the South by Southwest Television and Film Festival in Austin, Texas, for the premiere of Hack Season 3. And I was asked on the red carpet how I felt about being a gay icon. And I thought, well, if I am in the company of Judy and Liza and Betty and Joan and Bet and Cher, then I'm thrilled, absolutely. But really, what was it about those women? What is it? I think it's because they told you exactly what they thought and didn't give a crap, but always looked fabulous doing it, you know? But after the last day's events in Austin, several of us went to a drag show, because isn't that what people do when they visit Texas? Anyway, I'm incredibly honored to be up here this evening, and I accept this also on the behalf of everyone on my show as well. I mean, talk about a diverse group of people. I mean, we look like a friggin' Benetton commercial. But, and also our incredible writers. I love you all. Hannah mentioned a play I did in New York called Last Summer at Bluefish Cove. And it did. It started my whole career. My first agent, my first Broadway play, a series here in LA. It was about 7 women who vacationed every year in a lesbian beach colony. And my character was terminally ill that summer, but met a straight, very attractive woman who just wandered into the community by accident and rented a cabin. What's a girl to do? Anyway, the show took off and it moved to off-Broadway, where women in the gay community who were starved for a story like this, where they could see themselves in a positive light, and they came to see the show 6, 8, 10, 12 times and even more. And I have to admit, at that point in my life, I had never known a gay woman, or so I thought. Of course I had, I just didn't know that I knew them, like certain friends from high school, or friends from college, and my mother's cousin. But besides designing women and hacks, I also had the good fortune of being involved in a series called Watchmen that was beautifully written by Damon Lindelof, and it brilliantly embraced themes of racism and homophobia. But I still think, bottom line, humor is the best way to sneak in a message to an audience. One of my favorite movie quotes is from To Be or Not to Be by Mel Brooks. He plays a director in Warsaw in the beginning of World War II. And he complains that the Nazis are rounding up all the Jews, gypsies, and homosexuals. How am I supposed to rent a theater? He's like, but I personally learned about gay life through some very painful experiences. I had worked with an actor in my 20s, and when I moved to New York, where he lived, he took great care of me. Jimmy showed me the ropes and the city, and he fed me and was my date whenever I needed one. Handsome and with a very straight public persona. He made much of his living doing commercials and had to sign morality clauses, which he was very concerned about. And when I was cast in Last Summer at Bluefish Cove, he was very happy for me, but he was worried about my social life. So he would walk me to the theater most evenings, and where there was always a crowd of gay women waiting to buy tickets, and he would make a huge show of loudly wishing me, "Have a good show, honey," before planting a huge kiss on my lips. A couple of years later, I moved to LA to do a series, but we always stayed in touch. And one day he told me he had TB. I was concerned, but not overly concerned because of modern medicine. Apparently, he had told everyone he knew that he had TB after he was diagnosed with AIDS. Then one day I got a phone call from a very close friend of his telling me that Jimmy was in the hospital with not long to live. I had just moved in with my soon-to-be husband, and I told him I had to catch the next plane to New York to see my friend. And when I got there, it was like a scene from a bad romantic comedy, if it hadn't have been so tragic. It was the day of the New York City Marathon, and I had to get to the hospital. I had to cross through the runners, dodging them as best I could. And then I learned that Jimmy's mother wouldn't come to see him. And his little sister, who he adored and who he so proudly put through college on a yeoman actor's wages, only came to see him once to get some papers signed. I thought, how is that possible? How? I sat with him and I held his hand. He was barely conscious and he was on oxygen, and I really didn't think that he knew that I was there. But later, later I learned from his dear friend that after I left, he whispered, "I feel so loved." And he was the first person I knew who had died from AIDS, and it was so shocking. But so many religions, so many ethnicities, and people who are seen as different are persecuted, like people in the LGBTQ plus community. And what is ironic is that traits that are considered weaknesses are often signs of great heroism. Many who are viewed as flawed are really the strongest and bravest among us. The level of self-knowledge and personal strength that it takes to fight for yourself, especially if no one else will, is beyond measuring. To fight the fear and the ignorance of an uneducated world takes enormous self-love. I'm close to people who are gay, individuals who identify as transgender, and some who are wherever they place themselves on the queer spectrum. And in a world where children are starving and dying because of war, it seems obscene and beyond understanding that any of us should be concerned with someone else's sexuality. And speaking of children, knowledge is power. If children meet and interact with people who are different from them, they will be unable to turn away from those same people when they see them being squashed or threatened. And, I mean, let me ask you something. Would you be more concerned letting your child be in a gay pride parade or go on a Boy Scouts of America camp out? But on a personal note, before I finish, I would like to apologize as a cisgender woman for all of us, for the Katie Brills and the Lauren Boberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greens. What is it with women in particular when they go to the political dark side? They go absolutely nuts. But again, knowledge is power, and we need to stop being afraid of what we don't understand and try to learn from each other. Let's all try to be patient. Let's try to be tolerant. Let's try to be kind, without exception. And vote. Go vote. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.